اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج.
Assalamu alaikum everybody, I hope you're well. My name is Sarah Rizvi. Welcome back to episode 5 of Let's Talk with Sarah Rizvi. Today we're going to be focusing on a very important topic that has been on the minds of every girl, every woman, every man, every youngster, and everyone who's learning by Imam Mahdi Ajala Ta'ala Sharif. First of all, before I begin, I'm going to congratulate each and every one of you on the birth anniversary of our living Imam, of the Hujjah of our Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Imam al-Zamana, Imam al-Mahdi, Ajala Ta'ala Sharif. May Allah hasten his reappearance, and may we all be loyal and obedient and sincere and hardworking followers for him, inshallah. So the question we're going to be focusing on today is, what is the role of women in the government of Imam al-Mahdi Ajala Ta'ala Sharif? So a very important thing to raise here is that if you look at the history of Islam, if you look at historical figures like Lady Khadija salamullah alayha, Lady Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha, Lady Zainab salamullah alayha, Lady Kulthum salamullah alayha, you see that these ladies were in the front line of any socio-political, any political movement in helping towards Islam. If there was any voice raised against Islam, you see these powerful role models in the front line of Islam. Whether that was in Medina, when Lady Fatima Zahra was defending Wilaya Ali, whether that was Lady Zainab salamullah alayha defending the Imam of her time. It's not the sister defending the brother. It's a lady. It's a pious, righteous lady working hard to help her Imam of her time. So the women hold a very important role in any socio-political, any move in the government. Without a woman, there will be no movement. And I'm not saying that. Our Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, says, I say, if women do not take part in the social movement of a nation, that movement will not reach to any results. It will not succeed. And then he continues saying, this is a message to all the youth, all the young girls, all the young boys watching this. He says, I'm addressing you, the youth, not because I overlook your parents, but rather because the future of our nations will be in your hands. So this is how important it is to gain education of Islam, gain education of politics, gain education of our nations, know what's going on against Islam, so you can fight back in order to be one of the sincere, strong followers of the Imam. And then he says that preventing women from education, right? This is basically underestimating the role of women. So this is what our wonderful Ayatollahs say. They say preventing women from education is totally against Islam. This is not what Islam teaches us. Islam teaches us that a woman should be up to date with her knowledge, up to date with her socio-political knowledge. She should be defending her Islam. She should be defending the deen. She should be defending her nation. And she should be in the front line with the men and help the Imam of your time. So I will not take more of your time, inshallah. And the question in our minds of, will there be women in the government of Imam al-Mahdi Ajala Ta'ala Sharif? What is my role? What is your role? Right? We have this question in our minds. So what is the role of women in the government of Imam al-Mahdi Ajala Ta'ala Sharif? To answer this wonderful question, we have with us Brother Mohammed Ali, who is also one of the Jummah Nights hosts on After Maghrib podcast. So to find out, let's talk with Sarah Rizvi.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we're going to be discussing the very, very important fundamental question: what is the role of women in the reappearance of the Imam of our time, Ajralallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Al-Sharif? Many people ask this question with a unfortunate presumption with regards to the reappearance. Many individuals, they like to think of the reappearance as merely wars and fighting and military responsibilities that all of us have towards the Imam of our time. But this could not be further from the truth. When we look at the reappearance of the Imam of our time, there are many, many aspects that we do not focus on, such as the social aspect of the reappearance of the Imam of our time, the theological aspects, the intellectual aspects, and all of these parts are very, very important. And using our understanding of this wider understanding and a more comprehensive understanding of the dhuhr of the Imam of our time, it can become very easy for us to understand the role of women with regards to the reappearance of the Imam of our time. Before answering this question, it's very, very important to understand the role of women in the history of the religion of Islam. First and foremost, before we can go into understanding the role that they play in the reappearance of the Imam of our time. A large role that women have always played in the history of this religion is through their leadership, through their knowledge, and their motherhood specifically. When we look at the examples of some of the greatest prophets in the history of Islam, we see, for example, the example of Nabiullah Musa. Nabiullah Musa, in his growth, both Asiya, the wife of the Pharaoh, and the biological mother of Musa are crucial in his growth. The growth that Allah speaks about in the Quran, where He says that Musa is to grow upon the eye of Allah, litusna ala aini, that he will be grown and he will be nurtured in a way that is divine. He is being nurtured under the watchful eye of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this was done through two noble women, Asiya and also the biological mother of Moses. When we look at the mother of Isa, Nabiullah Isa, the same way we see the immense impact that Sayyidah Maryam has upon his growth and his nurturing. Then we come to none other than the greatest messenger of them all, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who says that I have four mothers, not only one, but he has four. The first of them being his biological mother, Amina alayha salatu wassalam. And then the second being Halima as-Sa'diyah, the mother who suckled the Prophet in his infancy. The third being Fatima bintul Asad. Fatima bintul Asad was the mother of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam, but Rasulullah says with regards to her, Innaha ummi, indeed she was my mother. And the fourth is none other than the Lady of Light, Sayyidat al-Nisa'i Ahl al-Jannah, Sayyidah Fatima Zahra alayha afdal salatu wassalam, whom with regards to her Rasulullah says, Innaha ummu abiha, indeed she is the mother of her father. So we see these four women play a great, great role in the growth and the nurturing of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and in the greatness that he achieved. On top of the role of motherhood, we see an immense role that women have played in the history of Islam in the role of knowledge and leadership in knowledge. When we look at the time of each of the Imams alayhi salatu wasalam, we see the very, very important role that women play. We see the example of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra alayhi salatu wasalam, who needs no introduction, who would be wrong for me to speak of her knowledge and for her role in preservation of Imamah, because this is a personality that I cannot know or understand. So it would be wrong for me to try and pretend as if I understood her role in preservation of Imamah. But she needs no introduction. The same way when we look at Sayyidah Khadija and Sayyidah Zainab, the same way they need no introduction. When we look at some of the daughters of the Imams alayhi salam, we see their role in preserving the Imamah of their fathers. For example, when we look at the daughter of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, who is commonly known in South Asian culture, we refer to her mostly as Fatima al-Sughra. And Fatima al-Sughra is also the name that some Arabs also call her by. However, in the Arab communities, her name is famously known as Fatima al-Alil, because she was the one who was sick and left behind in Medina. But many people don't actually know that Fatima al-Sughra, the reason for her being ill and left in Medina was so that some of the articles of imama, those things that the imams inherit from one another, could be safeguarded and preserved with her in Medina for when Imam Sajjad returns to Medina. This is very, very important, and many people do not know this, that Fatimatul Alila or Fatimatul Sughra acted as the safeguarder of the secrets of imama. This is the level of knowledge that she had in order to occupy such a role. When we look at the daughter of Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salatu wasalam, Fatimatul Ma'suma, who is buried in Qum, she was also an exemplar of from those that could answer the questions of fiqh with regards to aqaid. Any question you had for Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, if you went to say the Ma'suma, she would have the answer as well. She had an immense level of knowledge. When we look at the daughter of Imam al-Jawad, Sayyidah Hakima is buried in Samarra along with the family of the Imam of our time, along with Sayyidah Sulayl. Sayyidah Hakima and Sayyidah Sulayl, they acted as the first abwab to the Imam of our time, prior to the 4 Safirs that we know of. These individuals, they were the individuals that the Shia as a whole would refer to for their knowledge at the time of the early ghaiba of the Imam of our time. So these women, they held an immense position in society. When we look at some of the wives of the Imams, the wife of Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, Sayyidah Hamida, she was also very, very well known for giving fatwa, for explaining the understandings of the religion. The daughters of Amir al-Mu'mineen, who used to teach many major male companions hadith. When we look at the wife of, for example, Al-Abbas alayhi salatu wasalam, Sayyidah Lubaba, she was one that kept the message of Karbala alive alongside Sayyidah Zainab in Medina. These are women that literally paved the way for tashayyu' as we know it today. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have tashayyu' in the way that we know it today. This was the role of the pious women at the time of our Imams, and their central role in preservation of Imama and its teachings. And this is not a matter of history. Even in our time, we see the importance that mothers play in those countries where the Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are oppressed. The mothers of these noble men that go out and they give their lives in the name of Islam, in the name of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam, we see the immense impact that their mothers have upon them. Whether it is in the words of the noble martyrs themselves, or from the words of those individuals who witnessed them with their mothers. We see the immense role that these mothers play in nurturing these individuals to become the shuhada and the individuals of importance that they are. And that is where we come to the understanding of the woman and the role of the woman in the reappearance of the Imam of our time. We see in a narration in Tafsir al-Ayyashi. In Tafsir al-Ayyashi, we have the ayah that is being discussed in Surah Al-Baqarah, where Allah says, wherever you may be, Allah will bring you together, all together in this one place. And this is referring to the reappearance of the Imam of our time. We see in a very lengthy narration from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam, he mentions, وَيَجِئُ وَاللَّهِ 300 رَجُلًا. He says that by Allah, 300 and a few more men will rise. فِيهِمْ 50 إِمْرَأَةً, and alongside them there will be 50 women. يَجْتَمِعُونَ بِمَكَّةَ عَلَى غَيْرِ مِعَادٍ قَزْءًا كَقَزْءِ الْخَرِيفِ. He says that they will come together in Mecca for the allegiance to the Imam of our time, and they will come together as if they were scattered clouds in the autumn. So we see in this narration that there will be 50 women alongside the 313 men who will go and pay allegiance to Imam Sahib al-Zaman. So we can see that these 50 women are comparable to the 313 who will enter Mecca and they will pay their allegiance. When we look at the narrations about these 313 and the immense fadl that they have, the virtue that they have, what do we see? Rasulullah even says with regards to them. In Bihar al-Anwar we read, in volume 52, page 311, Rasulullah says, Ya Ubay, Tuba liman laqiyahu. Glad tidings to the one who meets him, speaking about Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman in Mecca. وَطُوبَى لِمَنْ أَحَبَّهُ, and glad tidings to the one who loves him. وَطُوبَى لِمَنْ قَالَ بِهِ, and glad tidings to the one who believes in him. وَيُنْجِيهِمْ مِنَ الْحَلَكَةِ, this will save them from being destroyed. وَبِالْإِقْرَارِ بِاللَّهِ وَبِرَسُولِهِ وَبِجَمِيعِ الْأَئِمَّةِ, يَفْتَحُ اللَّهُ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. He says that, and because of their belief in Allah and the Messenger and in all of the Imams, Allah will open the doors of paradise for them. مثلهم في الأرض كمثل المسك الذي يستعريه فلا يتغير أبدا. He says that the example in this world is like misk, the fragrance of misk, that which it gives its fragrance and it doesn't change ever. It never changes. This is the description that he's giving of these individuals that will meet Imam Sahib Zaman in Mecca. And then he says, وَمَثَلَهُمْ فِي السَّمَاءِ كَمَثَلِ الْقَمَرِ الْمُنِيرِ الَّذِي لَا يَطْفَأُ نُورُهُ أَبَدًا. He says that the example in the skies is like the example of the moon, that which it gives its light and the light never stops. This is the description that Rasulullah gives to these individuals that will meet Imam Sahib al-Zaman, from them being 50 women. These 50 women, many individuals, what do they think? They think that these 50 women, maybe they will just be there to tend to the wounds of the soldiers that are there from the men, for example. This is another misconception that many people have because of thinking of the reappearance and the dhuhr as something merely military, thinking about wars and fighting and only that. But there is an immense role that these women will play, following in the footsteps of these great women in history that we have discussed today as well, in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their piety, in terms of their motherhood, and in terms of nurturing a community of Shia that will stand with the Imam of our time, alayhi afdhal salatu wassalam. These are the Shia of Fatima Zahra, alayhi salatu wassalam, that every woman that is Shi'i should aspire to be from these 50 women that rise alongside the 313 men that support Imam Sahib Zaman. And of course, there are many, many, many other women that will support the Imam of our time. The same way that the 313 men are commanders, these 50 women are comparable to that status in being the leaders of the women, the 50 leaders of all of the women that will support the Imam of our time with their intellect, with their leadership, and with their motherhood, and with their patience and forbearance in preserving the message of the Imam of our time. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in our ma'rifah of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra alayhi salatu wasalam, and to make us from her Shia. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of her beloved son Al-Mahdi, to come and fill the world with equity and justice the same way that it was filled with oppression and tyranny. وآخر دعوانا عن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم عجل